The 1950s weren't just another decade in cinema. They were Hollywood's golden thunderstorm. A time when screens exploded with biblical epics, dazzling musicals, and spectacles so massive they changed filmmaking forever. These weren't just movies. They were experiences that pulled crowds into theaters by the millions. So tighten your seatbelts, because we're diving into the 10 greatest blockbusters that defined the very soul of 1950s Hollywood. Number 1. Ben-Hur, 1959. When Ben-Hur premiered in 1959, Hollywood witnessed something it had never seen before, a film so vast, so ambitious, that it redefined the very idea of a blockbuster. Directed by William Wyler and starring Charlton Heston as Judah Ben-Hur, this was MGM's gamble to survive after years of financial struggle, and it paid off beyond imagination. Set in ancient Rome, Ben-Hur tells the story of a Jewish prince betrayed by his childhood friend Messala, sold into slavery, and consumed by revenge. But beneath the grand spectacle lies a deeply human tale of faith, forgiveness, and redemption, woven through some of the most unforgettable moments ever filmed. The chariot race alone became legendary, a 12-minute sequence that took 5 weeks to shoot, involving 78 horses and 15,000 extras, all performed without CGI. Charlton Heston did many of his own stunts, making every frame pulse with real danger. The result was pure cinematic electricity. With a production cost of around $15 million, a record for its time, Ben-Hur went on to earn over $146 million worldwide, saving MGM from bankruptcy. It won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor, a record that stood unmatched for nearly 4 decades. But beyond its numbers, Ben-Hur became a symbol of Hollywood's golden ambition, where storytelling, craftsmanship, and human spirit collided on an epic scale. Even today, more than 60 years later, its grandeur remains untouchable. Because Ben-Hur wasn't just a film, it was a resurrection of cinema itself. Number 2. The Ten Commandments, 1956. Before Ben-Hur thundered across the screen, another epic had already parted the cinematic seas. In 1956, legendary director Cecil B. DeMille released his magnum opus, The Ten Commandments, a film so monumental it became a spiritual and visual landmark of Hollywood's golden age. Starring Charlton Heston as Moses and Yul Brynner as Pharaoh Ramesses II, the film retold the biblical story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. But DeMille's vision went far beyond the pages of Scripture. He transformed faith into spectacle, history into myth, and the Bible into one of the biggest box office triumphs of all time. Shot in VistaVision and Technicolor, every frame gleamed with color and grandeur. The parting of the Red Sea sequence became one of cinema's greatest technical achievements, blending live action, miniatures, and optical effects in ways that defied belief in the pre-digital era. The production was colossal, filmed partly in Egypt and on massive sets built in Hollywood's Paramount Studios. Over 14,000 extras, 15,000 animals, and an estimated $13 million budget made it one of the most expensive films ever produced at the time. Yet its returns were heavenly. The Ten Commandments grossed more than $120 million worldwide, and it remains one of the top-grossing films of all time when adjusted for inflation. Nominated for 7 Academy Awards and winner for Best Visual Effects, the film became a cultural ritual, broadcast every Easter for decades. More than just a movie, The Ten Commandments was DeMille's final sermon to Hollywood, a thunderous farewell from a director who believed cinema itself could touch the divine. Number 3. Around the World in 80 Days, 1956. In 1956, Hollywood took audiences on the ultimate adventure, a breathtaking race across continents, skies, and oceans. Around the World in 80 Days, produced by Michael Todd and directed by Michael Anderson, was more than just a movie. It was a cinematic expedition that captured the thrill of exploration and the boundless wonder of the world itself. Based on Jules Verne's classic 1873 novel, the film follows the unshakable English gentleman Phileas Fogg, played by David Niven, who wagers that he can circle the globe in just 80 days. Accompanied by his loyal valet Passepartout, portrayed by Cantinflas, Mexico's greatest comedy star, Fogg's journey becomes a whirlwind of danger, humor, and discovery. But the real adventure was behind the camera. Michael Todd envisioned a film that would redefine the word epic. Shot in 13 countries across 112 locations, the production employed thousands of extras, camels, elephants, trains, and even hot air balloons to bring Verne's vision to life. It was one of the first films shot in Tadeo's 70mm, a revolutionary widescreen format that delivered breathtaking clarity and scale. The film became a global phenomenon, grossing more than $42 million, an astronomical figure for the 1950s, and went on to win 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Its dazzling cameos, from Frank Sinatra to Buster Keaton, made it a Hollywood treasure hunt for familiar faces. Beyond the spectacle, Around the World in 80 Days celebrated a universal idea, that curiosity, courage, and imagination can take us anywhere. It wasn't just a journey across the globe. It was Hollywood proving that adventure itself could fit on a single reel of film. Number 4, Sleeping Beauty, 1959. By 1959, Walt Disney had built an empire of dreams, but Sleeping Beauty was unlike anything he had ever attempted. It was a film of breathtaking beauty, artistic obsession, and unimaginable risk. What began as a simple fairy tale turned into one of the most ambitious animated productions in history. Inspired by Charles Perrault's 17th-century story, Sleeping Beauty told the timeless tale of Princess Aurora, cursed by the wicked fairy Maleficent to fall into a deep sleep, until awakened by true love's kiss. But Disney's team of artists, led by Ivan Earle, the film's visionary designer, reimagined it as a moving medieval painting. Every frame was a piece of art, bold colors, intricate Gothic backgrounds, and geometric perfection that made the film look unlike any animation before or since. The production took nearly a decade to complete, and cost an astonishing $6 million, Disney's most expensive animated film at the time. It was also the studio's first to be produced entirely in 70mm Technorama, giving it a scope and sharpness that made it feel almost alive. Yet upon release, Sleeping Beauty struggled at the box office. Critics called it too cold, too distant. The disappointment was so deep that Disney didn't produce another fairy tale animated feature for almost 30 years. But time transformed it. Today, Sleeping Beauty stands as a masterpiece of design and innovation, celebrated for its haunting score adapted from Tchaikovsky's ballet, and for introducing one of Disney's greatest villains, Maleficent. In the end, Sleeping Beauty proved that true art doesn't always bloom instantly. Sometimes, it sleeps for decades, waiting for the world to finally wake up and see its magic. Number 5, Peter Pan, 1953. Before Sleeping Beauty and long before CGI took over fantasy, Walt Disney took flight with a story that captured the child within us all. Peter Pan, 1953, wasn't just an animated film, it was a promise of eternal youth, crafted with wonder, mischief, and a touch of melancholy that only Disney could conjure. Based on J.M. Barrie's beloved 1904 play, the film tells the story of Wendy, John, and Michael Darling, 3 London children whisked away by Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up, to the magical world of Neverland. There they encounter pirates, mermaids, fairies, and of course, the unforgettable Captain Hook, voiced with theatrical brilliance by Hans Conried. The film was Disney's 14th animated feature, produced by Walt himself during a time when the studio needed another hit after the war years. Animation was painstakingly done by hand. Over 750 artists and 500,000 drawings brought Neverland to life. Every sparkle of Tinker Bell's trail and every swing of Peter's sword was painted with pure imagination. Upon release, Peter Pan became an instant success, earning over $87 million in its original and re-release runs, and cementing itself as one of Disney's most beloved classics. The film's timeless songs, "You Can Fly, A Pirate's Life," and "Following the Leader," became childhood anthems for generations. But behind the laughter and flight, Peter Pan carried something deeper, a bittersweet truth about growing up, and the innocence we lose when we leave Neverland behind. More than 70 years later, its magic still soars. Because Peter Pan reminded the world of one eternal truth: the greatest adventure begins when you refuse to grow up. Number 6. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. In 1957, war came to the big screen not with gunfire, but with silence, discipline, and madness. The Bridge on the River Kwai, directed by David Lean, was not just another war movie. It was a haunting portrait of obsession and pride that questioned the very meaning of victory. Based on the novel by Pierre Boulle, the film follows Colonel Nicholson, played by Alec Guinness, a British officer captured by the Japanese during World War II. Forced to build a bridge for his captors in the jungles of Burma, Nicholson's rigid devotion to duty slowly becomes his downfall. His determination to prove British superiority turns into a tragic collaboration with the enemy, until the bridge itself becomes a symbol of insanity. Filmed in the dense jungles of Sri Lanka, the production was as grueling as the story it told. Temperatures soared, leeches clung to the crew, and David Lean pushed his team to the edge for realism. The result was a masterpiece of tension and visual storytelling. The film cost about $3 million but earned over $30 million worldwide, becoming one of the decade's biggest box office triumphs. It swept the 1958 Academy Awards, winning 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Alec Guinness. And then there was the whistle, that simple, haunting march tune. Colonel Bogey March. That became a global anthem for endurance and irony. The Bridge on the River Kwai wasn't about battles fought with weapons, it was about the war inside the human mind. Because in the end, the greatest bridge ever built in cinema was the one between honor and madness. Number 7. Lady and the Tramp, 1955. In 1955, Disney served audiences something different, not a princess tale, but a love story from a dog's eye view. Lady and the Tramp followed the refined Cocker Spaniel Lady and the streetwise mutt Tramp, whose unlikely romance captured hearts around the world. It was Disney's first animated feature in CinemaScope, giving audiences a wide, cinematic view of turn-of-the-century America, glowing lamplights, cobbled streets, and the unforgettable spaghetti dinner that became one of the most iconic scenes in film history. Walt Disney took a personal risk on this story, believing that emotion alone could drive the plot. He was right. The film earned over $93 million through re-releases and became one of Disney's most beloved classics. More than just a dog's love story, Lady and the Tramp was a celebration of loyalty, freedom, and the simple beauty of sharing one plate of spaghetti under the stars. Number 8. Cinderella, 1950. When Cinderella premiered in 1950, it wasn't just another fairy tale, it was Walt Disney's make-or-break moment. After World War II, the studio was drowning in debt. One failure could have closed Disney forever. But then came a glass slipper, a pumpkin carriage, and a dream that changed everything. Based on the classic story by Charles Perrault, Cinderella dazzled audiences with its lush animation, memorable songs like "A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes," and its message of hope against impossible odds. The film cost about $2.9 million to make and earned more than $85 million, single-handedly saving the Disney studio and funding future classics like Peter Pan and Sleeping Beauty. Even miracles take a little time, the fairy godmother once said, and she was right. Cinderella didn't just find her prince, she resurrected the magic of Disney itself. Number 9. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954. In 1954, Disney dove into uncharted waters, literally. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, based on Jules Verne's 1870 novel, became the studio's first true live-action blockbuster and one of the most ambitious adventure films of its time. Directed by Richard Fleischer, the movie starred Kirk Douglas, James Mason, and Peter Lorre, bringing to life the mysterious world of Captain Nemo and his submarine, the Nautilus. The film's underwater sequences were revolutionary, filmed in real ocean locations with elaborate diving suits and custom-built cameras. Costing nearly $5 million, it was one of Disney's most expensive productions, but the gamble paid off. The movie became a box office triumph, earning 2 Academy Awards for art direction and special effects. With its haunting score, steampunk imagination, and message about man's conflict with his own creations, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea proved that adventure didn't need magic, it needed depth. Number 10. South Pacific, 1958. In 1958, movie theaters were awash in color, music, and tropical sunlight, all thanks to South Pacific. Adapted from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Broadway smash, the film brought the romance and heartbreak of wartime paradise to the big screen. Directed by Joshua Logan and starring Mitzi Gaynor and Rossano Brazzi, it told the story of love tested by prejudice and distance on a remote island during World War II. The songs, "Some Enchanted Evening," "I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair," became instant classics. Shot in Tadao widescreen on location in Kwai, Hawaii, its dreamy visuals and tinted color filters gave audiences a surreal, painterly experience. The film earned over $36 million worldwide, making it one of the biggest musical hits of the 1950s. South Pacific wasn't just a musical. It was a sunlit escape that carried the bittersweet soul of an entire generation. The 1950s gave us stories that shaped cinema forever, tales of courage, love, and imagination that still echo through time. If you felt the magic of Hollywood's golden decade, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Age Echoes for more timeless journeys into classic film history. Because legends never fade, they only shine brighter.